Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Motivational Monday. My name is Kira. I am your host, and we have the wonderful, the beautiful Candace here with us. And before I give her an introduction, I have some announcements. I have a song to share with you, and we will go on from there. So, this is Motivational Monday. We're here almost every single Monday of the year, and we are in the middle of our financial well-being series. And we just started a whole new month, which means we have a whole new category that we're working with. I take you guys on a journey. We grow, we evolve, we take up space and do the work over time. And this starts our money momentum journey. So we did money mindset in October. And you all had great things to say about that. 100% of you in the survey that you all filled out saw an increase in your money mindset. Or there were like two or three of you who were like a nine on the scale to start with and then a nine on the scale to end with. So you stayed baseline, which is perfect and beautiful. But you guys said that you became more aware of your spending habits, you gained knowledge, you're less stressed and more goal oriented. You're looking forward to continue to work on your mindset. And then, as far as like tangible actions that some of you took, some of you canceled all of your unneeded subscriptions and freed up $200 a month, which can go so far and do so many things. And then some of you said, instead of buying to make myself feel good, I'm asking, is this needed or wanted? And what will I give up if I purchase this thing? So you all are doing the work. You're putting in the work, you're putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, and it shows, which is why we do all the things that we do anyway here. But to see that that's happening and to see the work that you're putting in, congratulations. Give yourself a round of applause, a little pat on the back. This work matters. People don't talk about money. And drop 111 in the chat if you've lived a life where you've probably not talked about money for most of your life. That's pretty common for most of us. We experience that. We live in a society where money is the foundation of the world that we live in. However, we don't talk about it, and a lot of us struggle with it. 50% of people making six figures or more are living paycheck to paycheck. So, what are people under that doing as well? And a lot of it is mindset, habit, not understanding money, not understanding the systems. And that's why we came here to give you all of the wisdom. So I'm going to share a poll on the screen to get your results for how the money management series was for you all. Um, we talked a lot about investing. We talked a lot about getting real and serious with your money. We talked about what it looks like to put yourself, to be like actively out in the world and to put yourself in a better situation than you're in currently. So there's a lot of work that we've done. I am putting that poll up on the screen now. Please fill it out at your leisure. It's a very, very, very short poll. However, I now have a song to share with you. The song that we opened with, because I know you all are song lovers, was a song called Alone by Anise. And Anise is one of my favorite artists. I'm a really big fan of independent artists. I think in general, I'm a fan of independent success. I'm a fan of how can we be our biggest advocates and trust ourselves the most and show up in the ways that we need to? So, Anise is a self-made artist, blew up on TikTok, has done amazing shows, has a great following. And I think that if you do things with your heart and you do things with kindness and you trust that voice inside of you that says, I have to do this, then it will come to fruition. That doesn't mean it's not going to take work. That doesn't mean that it's not going to take hard work. But it does mean that you'll get there. And I'm curious for those of you who are here on this call, is there a thing that your heart calls you to that you haven't done yet? And the reason why I ask that is because it's relevant to today, right? Because most of the things that we want to do in this lifetime require money. Some of them may require less money, some of them may require more money, but I feel like a lot of the times that we feel limited, it comes back to money. So that's why being in this money momentum month is so important because we're going to give you that long-term vision of what does it look like to be well in your finances for your whole entire life. So I'm dropping that song in the chat here for you. I have had no one put anything in the chat this entire time. Are we just quiet today? I'm so used to you guys being more active, more participating. And it is what it is, but where are my friends? And that song, what it says, he goes, I got visions for me only, and I will never give up on me. And I feel like sometimes it's either the limitation of money or it's the limitation of what people will think of us. And if you have a vision in your heart, if you are called to do something, if you know that you're meant for more, it is no one else's business. And a lot of people have that fear of taking that leap of faith. All of us have that beating in our heart, right? We know where we want to go, we know what we want to do, but to actually take action on it, not everyone excels in that area. Not many people have like full experience and exploration in that area as well. And that's where you have the opportunity to start to really ground into yourself, your needs, your wants. And I feel like taking control of your money allows you to take control of all of the other layers of your life and be like, cool, if I can do this, I can do anything. And that was my experience. I was $30,000 in debt living at my mom's at 28 years old a year and a half ago. Now I'm completely out of debt. I've used a guide once a week, every week for the past year and a half, and it has changed my life. I'm out of debt. I've got actual money in bank accounts. I'm making investments. I'm doing things. I'm so much more financially smart, so much more financially educated, and so much more financially confident. And that has translated into every area of my life. So at Life Guides, we take a pretty holistic approach. We give you all the wisdom and the insight in all layers so that you can become a full, whole, robust, dynamic, amazing version of yourself. And money is a huge part and tool for all of that. Now, I've got one more thing that I'm dropping in the chat for you all. We have 2026 is almost upon us. I don't know if you know, but it's December right now. It is technically right now, December 1st. And we have a whole new link for you all to register for Motivational Monday in 2026. Our links are going to be available for a year and then we refresh. So I will be posting it every week. You will see it in our emails, but sign up for Motivational Monday in 2026. Just get it done with, commit to showing up for yourself, commit to doing this work. And there's a lot happening behind the scenes in regards to our evolutions, our growth, where we're going in Motivational Monday, where we're going with all of our events. And it's all just going to keep getting better and better. So if you already like what we're doing, chances are you're going to love what's coming next year as well. We've got a lot of good things coming. So let me see what's happening in the chat before I give Candace her formal introduction. Yay! Okay, I love that you all are in the chat saying hi. That makes me so happy. So I'm going to give Candace her introduction and then I'm going to end the poll. So you have about 60 seconds left. Thank you to all of you who have filled it out and are providing us the feedback because it's always helpful for us to have the tangible results of hey, is this working for people? Do we need to change some things up? Are there suggestions that we have? Things along those lines. So thank you for that. Now, we have the beautiful Candace here with us. She is also known as Coach C. Just don't call her Candy. She is a devoted wife, dog mom, and purpose-driven entrepreneur. After nearly 8 years as a medical coder, emotional burnout led her to take a leap of faith and found her own wellness enterprise. And drop 222 in the chat if you've ever experienced burnout, or if you think that you've experienced burnout but never really knew and kind of just pushed through it, because I feel like that's real for a lot of us too. You're not alone. We go through it. So after that, Candace was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder in 2015 and major depressive disorder in 2022. And Candace finally embraced intensive therapy in 2023 and now proudly advocates for healing through mindset, movement, and in this space right here, right now, money. She is an NASM certified this woman does so much. She's an NASM certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, and behavioral change specialist, currently pursuing roles as a clinical exercise physiologist, marriage and family therapist, and licensed clinical counselor, ultimately pursuing a PhD in clinical sports and performance psychology. Guided by faith, she's on a mission to heal the world, one beautiful soul at a time, and actively advocates for people of color to reclaim their health, restore their minds, and rise in their own power. So, Candace, I have a question that's not entirely related to money right this very second, but it will tie into it. So, you went through burnout, you went through all of these seasons of your life of realizing, wow, I've got a depressive disorder and anxiety disorder. There's so much happening. And still, it's 2025, almost 2026. That was a couple years ago. You're still achieving and doing a lot in your life. How do you manage all of the things that you're doing in your life now without finding burnout? And I ask this question specifically because it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of mind power, it takes a lot of willpower to focus on your finances. And it's very easy to be like, I don't have time for it. But it's important, and we might just not be in the right headspace. So how have you managed all of that? And for those of you who are filling out the poll, I'm ending it in 3, 2, 1. Thank you for your answers.
Okay, well, thank you so much, you guys, for coming. Happy December. And to answer your question, Kira, oh, it's very layered. You learn a lot about what you do want and do not want out of life by what you've gone through that you don't want. So, for example, we're talking about relationships with money, and an example I can give is you learn a lot about your standards. I'll just say for me as a woman, from dating trash, right? Like my head was always in the garbage, and now I have a king who sits on a throne right next to me. And I learned how to standardize what I deserved and what I wanted because of my experiences that were subpar. So in terms of my mental health and how I manage it now, I learned, so when it comes to my mental health, I learned what peace feels like because I went so long without it. So for me, I prioritize peace because I went so long without it that anything now that disrupts my peace, putting up the X's because I did not know how to manage my mental health back then. I didn't speak up about it. I didn't tell my boss about it. And my boss was like a really, really close, she was like my auntie basically. And I had a great support system around me, but culturally, I didn't know how to identify, relate, or dissect my mental health. And so it took a lot of trial and error. And once I finally sought intensive therapy, my husband and I were in couples counseling. I had like two or three counselors by myself. And one of the themes that I learned was, you know what? You're going through a lot in a place that no longer serves you. I've been working since I was 16. So for me, I always had something carried on my shoulders. I was always responsible for something. And it wasn't until 2020, which was years after I started working in any field, that I stopped working multiple jobs. So I started to slow down a little bit, but of course, that was like the peak of my burnout. After my husband was like, "You're finna leave that job. Like, that job is no longer serving you." One of our couples counselors was like, "You're on your way out of a season that that what you were in before but no longer serves you. You're going to learn to make your business operate around your mental health because you've been challenged by it and struggling with it for so long that now you've had to take a step back. You've had to sit down. You've had to literally focus on your mental health. I didn't even have the opportunity to do anything else because I was literally in the labyrinths of depression and anxiety. So when I came up out of it, it was easier to manage everything because I had done the work, as we've talked about in previous months, doing the work. I had done the work on myself to know what I did and did not want out of the new version of me, the new and improved, well, the better me, right? The Candace 3.0 that had been through the trials, the fires of bad mental health. So now managing something just comes naturally to me because I know now what I want my life to look like because it was so chaotic before. So I had to go through it. And that's something that we've been talking about. I had to go through it to be able to have criteria for myself when I came up out of the depths of hell, if you will, in terms of mental and emotional well-being.
Yeah, and I asked this question specifically because this month is about money momentum and it doesn't end on December 31st. This is going to carry you throughout your lifetime. And if you have habits of emotional shopping, if you have habits of, if spending money is a really easy way to emotionally regulate yourself, one, you have to be aware of that. But two, the way that the brain works in regards to habits is you can form a healthy, amazing, great habit and it can be in play for a decade, but all of a sudden your life comes crumbling around you and you are going through so much at once. Your brain does not default to the new habit that you're set. Your brain backtracks to the old habit that you used to have. And the only way that it doesn't do that is if you believe in something bigger than what you believed in when you previously had that mindset. That's why Life Guides is such an incredible tool and asset because we do these events where you get to have some sort of interaction with us, but we have the one-on-one guide journeys with our guides like Candace who hold you accountable. So in the seasons of my life where I've been struggling and have almost reverted back to my crazy little habits, I've been able to be like, okay, I know who I can call. I know that I can get myself right. I know that there are people who can help me focus back on where I want to go. And you do not have to do this journey alone. And you heard Candace say multiple times that she had many mentors, many support systems, many coaches helping her. And I think that's some of the most real work that we can do is not only admitting that we don't know what we don't know, which is why we show up on these calls, but then it's admitting I need some help and I can't do it alone. And that part is the harder part for a lot of people. And drop 333 in the chat if you relate to that. Maybe you've been a lone wolf. Maybe you learned that you can do it all by yourself. Maybe you learned that when you ask for help, people don't show up. Whatever it is, we've got a lot of stories that kind of stop us, but this is a long-term journey. So, Candace, we talked about dating your money back in October. Last month, aka last week, we talked about what it means to get more exclusive with your money and choose, like, okay, I'm putting in this work. And now we're in the I do phase. We're ready to marry our money. We're ready to make that long-term commitment. What does that transition look like from that phase of exclusivity, right? To now being like, okay, I do. I'm here. I'm committed.
Yeah, you mentioned something about the brain and how we're wired. That's a really good point because when we talk about momentum, our brains are naturally wired for a lot of evolutionary things. We adapt to like fight or flight when it comes to things that have to do with our better habits, right? So we were in the management phase, but that's not always the part that we stick with. So momentum is just like a committed relationship, it's saying I do to continuing the work. So what that looks like is we talked about thoughts and behaviors the last couple of times that we spoke. Now we're at the end of the cycle, and it is a cycle. So it, like you said, we can revert back at any time. We're at the feeling stage, and it sounds contradictory because you would think, okay, like I started with feelings, but actually feelings are the things you act on. So thoughts are the things you think, feelings are the things that you act on. And when you build a mindset of security and management, the result is stability and confidence. And so this phase again, it might seem like it's the behavior phase, but the behaviors are the things that you're building based off of your feelings. So they reinforce your belief that you can keep going. And this is something that I really want you guys to think about. Feelings are things that you act on. So, for instance, let's just say you're hungry. What do? You eat. I hope you eat, right? When you when you feel good, right? And when we talk more about momentum, you work out and you continue the workout. When you feel good about exercise and when you feel good about how your body is changing, you continue doing that stuff, right? So again, that's what momentum is all about. It's acting on your feelings. So when you say marriage, when you say I do to your money, you reinforce the relationship that you were building before. And know this, with marriage, dating never stops. So we talked last week about keeping the spice in your relationship. That's just not when you're boyfriend and girlfriend or girlfriend and girlfriend, boyfriend. It's whatever relationship you're in, you have to maintain that at all times. And I love rap. So the one thing that I thought of when coming up with this series with you, Kira, was rappers, they always like to say they're married to their money, right? But when we think about married to money, it's not just a bar and a song, it's actual active behaviors and engagement. It's consistency, it's commitment, it's choosing the relationship over and over again. It's again knowing what you didn't want before in past relationships and wanting better for yourself. So it's choosing you and it's showing up for yourself and for that money management that you want to have, even when it's not sexy, even when it's not easy. And you want to choose that partnership over quick impulsive mindsets. So you might, like you said, the emotional shopping. When you're in a marriage, right? Or when you're in a committed relationship, you don't just go off of impulsivity. You go off of what makes sense, what's logical and rational a lot of the times, not all the time, right? Sometimes we beef in marriages too. But most of the time you come up with things that are more rational and pragmatic. So you choose stability over flexing, which we're going to touch on later. But we're going to live married to the money the right way, which is through real commitment. And this is part of the feeling cycle, acting on feelings. How do I want to feel? Do I want to feel good? Do I want to feel healthy and safe and protected in this relationship? Okay, therefore, I'm going to do things and act on things that help me with that commitment.
And I love that you just asked all of those questions at the end as well, because those are real questions to start asking yourself. And the answer to them, what's the answer to them? Most of the time, it's I do, right? Do I want to feel healthy? Do I want to feel financially secure? Do I want to have a good relationship with my money? Do I want to know that if the world crashed down around me in 3 weeks from now, that I would be good and safe and secure? Absolutely, I do, right? So that's where we get to start saying I do. But I do is just the beginning, babes. It is only the beginning. And I want to really stress this because I know we're in the holiday season. It's about to be stressful. Thinking about money might not be fun and easy right now, and that's perfectly fine. But January is going to come. We're going to have all of our New Year's resolutions. A lot of us are going to be saying I do, but I also want you all to remember and realize that this is a lifelong journey. You are not going to be at your end result and your end place at the end of January or at the end of 2026. This takes time. So you have permission to grow, you have permission to fall back, you have permission to take 10 steps forward and 5 steps back and ask for help and do the thing. It's a journey. It's a journey. So when we're talking about this journey and we're really committing to something bigger, it makes me feel like we might have to really consider our values and what drives us and what motivates us and what pulls us every day. But you and I talk all the time about like being real with yourself, not just looking like you have it together, which a lot of people are in that mindset with money. They look good, but if you actually read their financial statements, everything is doo-doo. So, how does
Yeah.
that, how does all of this, like really being real with ourselves, how does that lead into becoming more secure financially? And then what does that financial structure look like in real life as we're coming into this deeper level of commitment?
Yeah, so again, to use my rap analogy, if anybody has heard the term hood rich, please put in the chat like three sevens because hood rich is a term in the hood for when you look like you have it all together, but you don't. So what that is, in more financial terms, is being like house rich and cash poor. It looks like you have everything, and it's that flex that I mentioned earlier. You're flexing for the gram, you're flexing for your friends, you're flexing, but you really want to actually have the momentum to sustain real behaviors that you act on based on your feelings, right? If you feel like being hood rich, you're going to go out and buy things that depreciate. If you feel like actually being wealthy in your mind, body, spirit, and bank account, you're going to do things that are sustainable. So what this looks like is being resourced, where you're emotionally and financially covered, where you are protected and stable, where you're supported by systems that actually work. And remember, last month we talked about management. That's where you trial and error different things. Now you're in the phase where you've built up momentum. It's just like a workout, it's just like a routine. You've gotten past like the trial and error of figuring out what schedule you want, what kind of food you want to eat. You're in a phase now where you're supported by systems that work. And to again keep it hood, you're held down. So it's a culturally familiar way to say that you feel secure, you're funded, so you're actually supported by your money and your financial habits. You're secure, you got that sleep better at night energy, and you're stabilized. So you're standing on something that's real. You're not just standing on a foundation, you're standing on the entire edifice of the financial habits you built. And so basically, you're fully invested in yourself in a real way, not just what looks good, not just what looks pretty, but something that's actually sustainable that will carry you through and through. And I want to make something very clear. It's December. The time to start is now. Don't use this conversation with Kira and I as an excuse to start in a month from now, which is January 1st. Momentum means you're going to start now. Your year from now, and I say this all the time, your year from now can be today. You can say by today, 12 months from now, December 1st, 2026, I did a year of committing with momentum to the things that I want to see changed in my financial well being. So don't let New Year's Day be a day where you fail at a resolution because you chose to start later than you had to. You can start now.
It's so funny too because my birthday was last week and my year starts on my birthday. I do not like, cool, yeah, a calendar ends on December 31st. A new one starts on January 1st, but you get to choose. Every day is a new opportunity and you absolutely do not need to follow the status quo, especially when most people fall off of their New Year's resolutions anyway. And again, it's a long-term journey. We're barely crawling right now. Some of you are still in debt. Some of you don't have budgets. Some of you don't know what investments look like. That's fine. We will get you there. You'll have a guide, you'll have support, but you don't have to run. You don't have to get there all at once, and you do not need to stress yourself out. And even if you're sitting here on this conversation right now, stressed out about how much money you maybe spent on Black Friday, or it's Cyber Monday and you're like, I want to buy this, like, it's okay. You can go through your habits, and even if you're still moving through the exact same motions that you used to move through, but now you just have a different mindset and you're asking yourself different questions, that matters too. So, a lot of people say I do, Candace. A lot of people fall off of the maintenance of what it takes to keep that momentum. So, what does it look like to keep this marriage to our money healthy? How do we keep dating our money so that the relationship doesn't get stale? And how do we keep that focus on where we want to go while still realizing that we're living lives and unexpected things happen every day? How do we stay on that track?
Yeah, you mentioned something about this notion earlier, but I'll say it in this way that commitment is not the same as autopilot. So a lot of us fall into these very monotone, robotic routines. And remember, I said before, you want these things to be enjoyable. So commitment does mean continuing to show up, but maintenance is joy and consistency. So just like marriage, you don't stop dating your spouse, you don't stop dating your money, and you keep the spice spicy and you keep the flame flickering. So you want to build healthy rituals. Like again, I always talk about the money date where you set yourself up looking cute. You got your wine, you got your music playing, you got whatever, and you do your monthly financial dates, you do your yearly and weekly check-ins, and you celebrate your milestones. Even if you started today, that's a milestone. I started today at 8:58 a.m. PST. I started today. That means tracking your wins and rewarding your progress. And you want to have the psychology of joy, which means always pair your momentum with something that is joyful. So again, I love fitness and wellness. So you always want to think of things as pair something that isn't so fun with something that is fun, right? So if you're doing something that is financially related that doesn't feel as enticing, do something first that builds you up with momentum and energy. So listen to a podcast, go for a run, do something first because what you want to be is a solar panel. You want to absorb all the positive energy that you're doing right before you got to do something that may not be as enjoyable because a solar panel keeps going based off the energy that's infused within it, right? So that's how you want to be. You don't want to be a gas tank where you end up on E. You want to be a solar panel that's charged up every time you get more energy from something that may be more fun and exciting for you at first.
I love it. That's such a good analogy of a solar panel versus a gas tank. And commitment is not the same as autopilot. So you have the ability to change course. You have the ability to be like, this is where I want to grow. You can do something for 3 months and realize it might not be the most efficient. Let me try something else. That's the beauty of a long-term commitment is you're committed to the change and evolution that happens over the long time of the person that you're going to become that you never knew that you would become because you haven't lived that yet. You're going to have the same thing happening with your money. So there's a couple of things in the chat that I wanted to read as we're coming to a close. Catrice sent us a testimonial and it says, I cut up my credit cards a couple months ago and finally got down to the point where I had money available. I wanted to get a snack with it, but I remembered I cut up the cards and removed it from Uber Eats, DoorDash, etc., so I had no way of using that money. While I was upset about it in the moment, I realized why I did it in the first place, to get out of debt and stop spending my last dollars. Amazing. And
Mm.
so good, right? And then we have
Yeah,
Brandy also put
congratulations.
another comment. Yeah, congratulations. Mwah. You all are doing amazing work. This one's real. A friend of mine asked me if I was struggling because I say no to so many things. Nope, it just
Mm.
isn't a priority right now, slash not in the budget. After I got out of $30,000 of debt, my mom was like, I'm not inviting you to this because you don't have any money. And I'm like, what do you mean I don't have any money? And she's like, you say no to everything. And I'm like, yeah, because I have priorities. I say yes to the things that matter to me, but there's a lot of things that don't match my values and my priorities right now. So this is us doing the work, right? Cutting up a credit card and not buying that snack and not having it attached to your DoorDash, that's a huge win. Being able to say no and being able to be confident in your no, that is a huge win. So, Candace, do you have any final words for us as we start this journey of momentum? We've got this whole month that we're focusing on it, but What are some final words that you have for those of us who are here on this call right now?
Actually, I want to speak to what mom said and what someone else had said in the chat is remember, hood rich is looking like you have it all together. So when you are actually rich, you may not remember rich people be dressing like they shopped at the thrift store. So you don't have to look, and there's nothing wrong with this thrift store, okay? But you don't have to look like it to remember, feel like it. If you feel good about it, that's where you want to go. You want to choose something that will carry you through and you want to treat your relationship like it is joyful and it's not a burden. That's where the relationship with money will thrive. Always make sure you choose joy whenever you do this stuff.
Yay! I'm dropping a bunch of resources in the chat that Candace gave us. It's so many things. I would copy and paste that into your notes. There are money management tools, cashback and shopping extensions. I love shopping. I'm not going to stop shopping. I just have a budget and I shop a lot smarter than I used to, but saving money while shopping, the best. Beginner investing apps, bill and utility assistance programs, education and workforce support, books, podcasts, and creators, and so much more. So you have all of that in the chat right here, right now, for all of your success and all of your greatness. We will see you next week, continuing our money momentum month. And there's a survey that pops up at the end. Please fill it out. If you have any love letters for Candace, you can leave them there and I'll make sure that she gets them. Thank you all so much for being here, and we will see you next Monday. Bye, everyone.